Hello, thank you for watching last series on Introduction to Financial Risk Management. It helped us in growing. If you like this series and intend to following this one, I would request to please subscribe to the channel. So as promised, from today we'll be starting our series on professional development. We did a poll to ask what would you like us to cover, and professional development is something that everyone seemed to be interested. So today, to start off with, let us discuss what professional development is and how do we actually go about it. If you go to YouTube and you write professional development, you will come up with hundreds and hundreds of videos. Each and every one will have their own success stories, would have their own ways of dealing with the professional development and making progress. Just like them, I'll be talking about mine and the way I have been growing over the years. So before we start that, let me tell you what professional development is all about. Whenever we talk about development, it's about growing. It's about getting from one place to another. Professional development is no different. So in professional development, you take yourself from one stage to another. Obviously, you start as an officer, as an analyst, and as you progress in your career, you move towards becoming a manager. And as time passes, you become a senior professional. And that's how you keep growing, and that's natural. But how would you further fasten this process? How are the things that can be done that would allow you to make things faster? This is what we are going to cover in this particular series. So in the first video, the thing that I want to talk about is SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is something that you must have heard or studied during your studies. It's a very common thing. But today I'll be talking about personal SWOT analysis. So whenever you talk about development, whenever you talk about growth, as I said earlier, it's all about moving from one place to another. But you cannot move from one place to another if you don't know where you currently stand and if you don't know where you are moving towards. So the personal SWOT analysis would help you in assisting or in assessing your current state and the state that you want to achieve. So what is SWOT analysis? So SWOT is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So we all know our strengths, and that's not an area that I would be focusing. I would be focusing towards weaknesses and threats basically. I won't be talking about opportunities also in this particular series or today basically. But the weaknesses is something that allow you to grow. The threats are the ones that you must be very careful about. So, for example, if you join an organization, you are just out of university and you analyze that you have joined a multinational where things are not as it used to be in the university. The culture is different, the language is different, the protocols are different. So how do you adopt? How do you adopt the practices there? How do you improve yourself and make the ladder a bit faster than expected? So the first thing that you need to do is to take a paper. I'll share a link for the SWOT analysis, for a draft SWOT analysis in the link in the description below that you can use as a prototype. So how do we do SWOT analysis? We take two margins dividing into four portions. The top one is strengths, then you have your weaknesses, then you have your opportunities, and you have your threats. So talking about weaknesses, so let's talk about if you have joined an organization. Let's say that you have a degree in quant, which I had my degree in, and you don't have a lot of good, let's say, drafting skills, writing skills, and you realize that if you have to grow, you'll have to improve your writing skills. So you know the quant, you know how to do the numerics thing, but you don't know, or you're not that good in writing because that's not something that you have been trained for. So that's an area that you need to work on. The other area is, let's say, a portion of it, let's say communication. So you're not good at communicating your thoughts. You know your things, but whenever there's a discussion, whenever there's a meeting, whenever your supervisor or your boss is asking you something, you just mess things up. This is very common for most of the people here. So that's one area. So these are two descriptions or two examples that I had top of my mind. It could be different. Maybe you could be good in writing, and numericals and numbers or quant is something that you are into. Your current job requires learning towards quant, but you are not from a quantitative background, so you need to learn the quant. So that varies from background to background, that varies from scenario to scenario, and I cannot tell you what your weaknesses are. You know it yourself. It's just that through this SWOT analysis, you will be able to take it out on the paper. So once you list weakness number 1, weakness number 2, weakness number 3, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter how many weaknesses you have, just write it down. And the first step of writing it down is to accept that you have those weaknesses. So basically we human have this not problem, basically it's in our psychology that we know what the things are, we know what our weaknesses are, but we keep delaying things until something happen, and we have this realization that we have to do this. Okay, so this particular SWOT analysis, if you do it in good times, it will allow you to work on the weaknesses before it could harm you. So this is the weaknesses part. Then moving on to threats. Threats is something that could be disastrous. For example, not knowing good communication or writing could be disaster. It could be a threat. It could be, it could not allow you to get that promotion, to get that higher post, because you are not good at communication. So if you are having a job that needs client interaction, so you are good at quant, but you cannot communicate well. So it could be a threat also. So weakness and threats are interlinked somewhat. It's somewhat different also, but threat is somewhat that is more severe in its linkages. So that's what threats are about. So if you have something, that sort of thing, you need to analyze that also. So in the first video, follow the link, take a sample out of it, and take a paper out, take a pen, and just write down the weaknesses and the threats you have. I'll do it myself. I'll think it. What were my weaknesses when I was just a young graduate joining a new company, and I would also think as a professional, as a mid-tier professional who is trying to reach the top tier. And I would come up with some of the weaknesses that I may have, and I'll be discussing those in the coming series. So if you like this series, and if you know that there are weaknesses that you really want to work on, just write in the comment, drop me a message on LinkedIn, and I would be glad to cover it in this particular series. So see you in the next video, where we'll be talking about one of the weaknesses that is journal in the professional class. Thank you.